How do you enter a flow state of productivity? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel once again. In today's video, I want to talk to you about flow, the concept of flow state in productivity. In the first part of the video, I will focus on the concept, and in the second one, I will show you how this applies to us as freelancers, how we can utilize it and maximize its potential. I think it has happened to all of us that you are reading a book, you're reading 1, 2, 3 pages, and then you realize, oh, I have no idea what I just read, right? That's a perfect everyday example of an activity that you're not in a flow state, so you're not actually performing at your optimal performance. A few synonyms for flow state are deep work, being in the zone. Often athletes call it being in the zone, having deep focus, or simply being productive. It's a dedicated period of time where your mind is fully occupied with one single task and not distracted by any other meaningless tasks. Quick intermission at this point. I want to tell you about the Translator platform by Robert Gebhardt. He kindly sponsors this video. As you can see here on the screen, he has a bunch of courses for aspiring freelance translators. He has courses on Probst.com, on LinkedIn, how to get hired as a freelance translator, and many more. This one is especially great. Here's a short snippet of the course. You really go through everything from pricing, from setting up your website, your LinkedIn profile, how to reach out to agencies, to direct clients, etc. It's a fantastic resource for everyone out there. Make sure to click the link down in the description. As a special treat for all Freelanceverse listeners and viewers, you can enter at the checkout when you decide on a course. You can enter the code FLVPROD for a 20% discount. When making a video about flow state in general, I have to mention its originator, of course, the Hungarian psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He came up with the notion of flow. He's mainly known for his research in the areas of happiness and creativity, but his best known work is the book called, let me quickly peek, Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. In this book, the Hungarian psychologist states that people are actually the happiest when they are in a state of flow, a state of concentration, simply absorption of one task, no distractions. That's the happiest that you can be. He refers to it as the peak human existence, the optimal experience of a human. And based on this discovery, he claims that a human can simply make themselves happy, regardless of what's going on around them in their life, right? Simply with a state of focus, with a state of flow, you can achieve happiness, which is of course a big claim. So, but I do see where he's coming from, and I do kind of agree with that. To visualize this a bit further, let me show his flow graph here on the side. You should see it here. It's a really interesting graphic, actually. So we have on the one axis, we have challenge level, and on the other axis, the skill level. And it's a very interesting, like, everything you do in life can be placed somewhere in this graph, right? So it goes from apathy to flow, from anxiety to relaxation. So that means if you challenge yourself too much with something that you're not really good in, you get anxious, right? You are here at the top left. If you challenge yourself not at all in something and you're actually bad in it, then you experience apathy, meaning that you will just simply not care about the task. You're becoming indifferent to it. If you're all right in it, but you have no challenge, then you're just bored. In most life situations, you find yourself somewhere between worry and control, right? You're either doing something you're not very good in, but you're trying to learn about life. You get better in it, or you do something that you do every day. You're the expert. It's a medium level of challenge at that point. So you're firmly in control. You have to control, nothing too challenging. You're doing fine. If you can get into that, let's say maybe 60 to 120 minutes of highly challenging, highly engaging expert work, so a task that is challenging but you're highly skilled in, then it's incredibly taxing, takes a lot of energy, but it's also incredibly rewarding, right? You find yourself in flow, in peak human state of performance, and that's where you can do your best work, basically. So it's really especially in a work day where we are kind of conditioned, you need to work 8 hours or 10 hours in some crazy jobs as well. It's impossible that you can be in flow state yet be anyways productive for 8 hours, right? So it's very important to downsize your workday to find the optimal time when you are most productive. For me, it's, for example, it's between 10 and 12 in the morning. That is my peak productive time, right? So when I have something that I know I have to focus, I know I have to get into a flow state, I try to Like try to plan it for this period of time, but of course you need to learn that about yourself. This graph that I just showed you is exactly why it's so hard to excel in something that you are not passionate in, right? If let's say you go into finance just because you want to follow the money, right? It's much less likely that you will perform great, you will outperform your competition that is much more passionate about the topic, and that's actually there for intrinsic motivational reasons and not external motivation. That's a huge factor, right? Often it feels a bit flimsy when someone says just follow your passion, but that's exactly why, right? You can only find that peak human performance level if you are really passionate about it, if you're an expert, and if it's challenging enough. For me, the most flow state I've ever felt that I can remember is when I started my business, 2016, 2017. I remember being able to concentrate and focus on one single thing for hours. Like I can't really do that anymore. I mentioned before it's between 60 and 120 minutes that I can do now. But I remember back in the day I was focusing for 4 or 5 hours. It went by like 10 minutes and I was just, enjoying so much what I was working on because I had that goal, I had that passion in it. So if you're just starting out with your business, use that energy that you still have, right? From a neuroscience perspective, it's actually quite interesting because scientists don't know actually a lot about flow. Understanding flow is a very hard concept to grasp, right? But what is known is that the brain is a muscle. So you can train it exactly like your biceps or your core, right? It takes training. Meaning if you regularly focus in a flow state, you're training your brain to do that, right? And you're getting better and better in it. And the payoff is incredible, right? If you achieve something, if you dedicate 2 hours on a task and you achieve something great, it went by in a whirlwind, you feel great, you feel proud of yourself because it's the dopamine. Your body releases dopamine by something you achieved yourself, right? It's a dopamine release that is caused by your actions and not by external factors such as, short little videos that kick in the dopamine every few seconds. And that's a very different release because it's a slow release over time, which is much healthier for you. It will last longer, it will actually have an impact, and you have a product of the 2 hours that you worked on something, so you even have an outcome. It's really important sometimes to think about that. Why are you feeling about a certain situation a certain way, right? Because dopamine initially was created for us to thrive in like social situations, in hard work, in exercise, etc. The same goes on the other aspect, by the way, on the cortisol levels, the stress hormone that we have. That's not meant to be that high constantly like it is with people nowadays, right? So it's interesting to find a perfect brain balance, cognitive balance between your dopamine and your cortisol. For me, at least, that's when I can perform best, right? If I'm not feeling well mentally or physically, I will never ever enter a flow state in productivity. And I know this, at the moment, for example, I really need a holiday. I'm really physically drained and it's actually my last day of work. So these videos will go out now in my holidays. And I notice it, right? It's hard for me to focus at the moment to get into flow state because physically I need a break. And that is one part of the blockers of flow, why you can't get into productive work sometimes. Other blockers of flow are thoughts, just random thoughts that come into your mind. It's very hard to, it's the same with meditation, right? If thoughts come into your mind, it's very hard to push them away and focus solely on one thing. Other people that are in your room, or if you work from home like most of us do, just household activities, it's easy to just stand up and go do the laundry instead of focus on one task. Distractions, definitely. I mean, any distractions on phone, laptop. When I dedicate time for a task, I really do my best to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, put my laptop on Do Not Disturb, and for 2 hours I just don't get any notification. I really focus on one thing. Because if you're really in the flow of writing a script for a video, for example, is a perfect example. I really need to get into a flow state to be able to write a good script. And if I'm writing and I'm in the middle of the whole concept of the video and an email from a client pops up, I go over there. It's very hard to come back and actually get back into the rhythm of things, Definitely schedule your deep work time in blocks of work. Schedule it for me, it's 10 to 12 or late in the evening. I know I don't have meetings at that time. I can fully focus on that specific task and I can make maximum progress. Easy tip for getting into the flow state, as I mentioned before, physically, mentally, I have to be on top to be able to perform, to focus, to work productively. So sleeping enough, eating healthy, cooking my own meals, whole food, physical activity, hydration, all these things are just, for me, are a given, even to think about focusing, right? So if you're experiencing constantly brain fog, or you're not able to focus, maybe start there. Like, what is your sleep hygiene? How much do you exercise? What do you eat? How much do you drink? Most people drink not enough. Most people don't eat well enough. Of course, that's all, like, you come to everything in your life. I know that, but I'm trying to optimize these things so I can actually optimize also my work day, right? Because I don't want to work 10 hours, and I know I can't focus for 10 hours anyways, but I probably work like 5-6 hours a day max, and I do the same amount of work as I would do without focusing if I spend double the time at the office. How I usually get into my focus mode is I work with full hours on the clock. That's a very analog thing to do, but when it's like 2:38 on the clock, I will not start a productive block of work. I will always wait until 3 p.m. and then in my mind it's like it's counting down. I have time. I can maybe eat something, grab a bite, go a bit in the sun, watch a video until 3 p.m. Then the work block starts until 4:30, 5 p.m. for example, and then I'm done. Me working a full-time job and making these videos, I really have to force myself sometimes to get into a flow state, because I want to optimize my time, right? When I don't want to sit back and just think about video ideas and ruminate over things for hours and hours and not actually productively working on it, because this only works next to my full-time job if I'm very focused. So I have to sometimes force myself, and I do that with to-do lists, with very strictly planned evenings. For example, let's say it's like 7:49 on a Wednesday evening. I know I need to film tomorrow, so I need to have a script. 8 p.m. I go to the gym until 9 p.m. let's say. 9:15 I go down to the lounge. I write the script until 10, 45 minutes deep work, and then I know I'm back home at 10:15. The script is written, I've worked out, all is good. So future me is planning the evening so that current me can just follow the plan. It makes it much easier for me than deciding minute by minute what to do next. I work very much with planned days. That's not the same for everyone, but I'm just sharing my experience. I even know people who put blocks in their calendars of deep work, flow state, of like 60, 120 minutes that they know already. Okay, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 12, I will not take any meetings, not go anywhere. This is my time for deep work. Maybe they don't even know the task yet, but some people just need to have this strict block of productive work. If you're just starting out, maybe you can put into your calendar, I don't know when you're starting your workday, but 8 to 9 is strictly client outreach. And then you start your working day. If you have that planned, it kind of holds you accountable for your actions as well. If you are just at the beginning and you're not really sure how to get into that state of deep focus, and you're always getting distracted by other people, by thoughts, etc., what helps me a lot is I check kind of my posture, my body, when a thought comes in. So if I'm really focused and suddenly I think of, I have this appointment tomorrow, and I notice I'm slipping out of the state, I kind of have this little reminder. I think, okay, feet firmly on the floor, sit upright, shoulders back, chest out, continue. And that kind of is like a mental reminder, but also a physical reminder for me to sit upright, and immediately I can get back into it. But that I've kind of trained over the years, right? If I'm really in a time pressure and I'm not focusing enough, I do this little exercise, and it's kind of like a readjustment for myself, for my mind to get back into it. Yeah, I recently got this message from a subscriber, and she said, I'm really admiring your videos. How can you do it next to your work? Do you really have so much translation work if you also make these videos for us? And I find it funny because I think people, I don't know, maybe you can write it in the comments, people just assume if someone says they are fully booked or they are busy, that they work 12, 14 hours a day. And that's just not the case, right? This should not be the norm. For me, fully booked means I work as much as I want to work, and I don't want to do more. I could always do more, but it would drain me so much. It's just not feasible for me. I need a lot of recovery time. I need just time off sometimes. Just recently I went to a cabin in the woods without technology and just simply worked with my brain, got thoughts on paper so that in the future I can focus again much more. Because if you store everything in your brain, it's not made for that, right? The physical brain has not changed of a human in all these years, right? From hunters and gatherers to now. So all this information is not made to stay in your brain. Really encourage you to get it out. I do that regularly. Just have a note on your phone, or even better, a piece of paper, and just write stuff down that's in your mind. It empties your brain, and then you can refocus on a task that's important. Most of this information is through experience from the years that I have as a freelancer, but also from the book Deep Work. I highly encourage you to read it. It's a fantastic book. Most of the things you are aware of, but you're not actively thinking about or working on it. It helped me really a lot to focus on it, to focus on my focal points more. It's refreshing. It takes away the constant overstimulation of the brain. So I highly recommend the book. I'm going to link it down below. And I hope the video was not too abstract. What I wanted to show is simply that you can be much more efficient about your day if you're smart about your focus. For me personally, I can only do one flow state per day maximum, right? I can't do like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, because it is so mentally taxing, but also rewarding. And within these 2 hours of deep work, I get more done than in the rest of the 4 or 5 hours of working day. And that's a really important thing to consider. Do it when you're freshest, do it when you're motivated, and it's only possible, at least for me, when I'm mentally and physically on top. There you go. This is this week's video. I'm gonna head out to my holidays now, but the videos will continue. They're all scheduled for every Monday, but I definitely need a refreshment break. Thanks for always being here. I appreciate it a lot, and I see you next Monday with the next one. Bye bye.